The physiognomy of mental diseases speaks on an unnamed woman clinically diagnosed with pantophobia. Tired eyes, a look of sorrow, rapid aging, all of which are characteristics she's depicted to have, alluding to the torture she's endured through her chronic illness. Pantophobia isn't just any normal phobia, like the one of the ocean, or say the one of large objects. It's actually every one of them you can think of, and more, all of them combined. The female pictured had a, quote, delusive fear of every object and person. She was in a state of perpetual distress. Perpetual. Every second of every day. So much so to the point where it was necessary to watch her closely to prevent her committing, well, you could probably assume. Could you imagine feeling that way? What would that even look like? Rain, snow, fog, clouds, sunlight, grass, leaves, trees. I mean, these are not only necessities, but unavoidable in day-to-day life. However, some people have to avoid them out of pure, overwhelming terror. Fright that keeps them from being able to live that day-to-day life. And worst of all, they can never be cured, only treated. But what if I told you pantophobia doesn't even exist at all? Rather, existed. Mental illness has been around as long as time itself, with evidence leading back all the way to eras like the Stone Age in cave paintings and art. But it was much less understood than it is today. Not only did diagnoses not go by the same names, but the causes of them were extreme and often outright incorrect. There were three categories of theories that attempted to describe, generally, the reasoning behind whichever mental problem anyone may have had, and these theories were used for centuries with roots spanning back to the years before Christ. Somatogenic theories strictly focused on the physical causes behind disorders like brain damage, imbalance, genetics. Psychogenic were geared more toward traumatic experiences behind the causes. This is where your PTSDs would come into play. And supernatural were the incorrect inductions mentioned, as they theorized some illnesses to be from the possession of the devil, demonic spirits, upset of the Greek gods, curses, and sins. The category a person with an illness was put under directly impacted the treatment they would receive, and this treatment also differed abundantly from the present. There were exorcisms, acts of bloodletting, trephination. People were put in asylums, prisons, workhouses, and sometimes people were even hung, burned, or met with the guillotine. As time went on, the more accepted and understood illness became, leading all the way up until around the 19th century when many conditions started getting more concise treatment and definitions. This is where pantophobia came to be, as scientists and doctors started to focus more on fear itself, how it acted, what it was. It's also near the moment the nameless woman was diagnosed with it. But it was still the beginning of the deeper dive into our feelings, so they didn't understand everything, and that may have led them to falsely assume that the woman truly was afraid of every single thing and not just anxious all of the time while just happening to be around people and objects. There is a difference, but it will forever remain a mystery to if she truly did have a fear of everything or not. As for pantophobia itself, it still exists in dictionaries. It used to be used to diagnose people. However, it does not exist anymore in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM, which is the official handbook used by all healthcare professionals in the US. Meaning, you can't get pantophobia. You will never be told you have it. But does that mean it's impossible to experience the legitimate fear of every object and living being? Does that mean that nobody has ever gone through that and nobody ever could? I'm scared of everything. Scared of trying new things, learning, falling in love, being touched, driving, leaving my house, initiating conversation, contributing to a conversation. More, and everything else. I want to stop being afraid of everything. For as long as I can remember, I've suffered from anxiety, and while I've made huge strides in the last 2 years and overcome a lot of it, one major thing remains. I'm emotionally afraid of nearly everything. I'm realizing how much fear rules my life and impacts my mental health. How can I stop feeling so fearful of everything and let go? How do I stop being scared of everything? I never go out of my comfort zone due to the fear of embarrassing myself or failure. I have social anxiety and am scared of going to job interviews, scared of meeting new people. I've passed my driving test, but I am scared to drive and have massive panic attacks. When I do somehow make a friend, I am scared of getting close to them and end up distancing myself. I am scared of disappointing others, scared of upsetting others. I'm even scared of some of my family members. I can't seem to get rid of these fears, and when I see others who excel and then I look at myself, I just realize how useless I am and beat myself up and want to die. How do I improve? I am afraid of everything, and it's preventing me from enjoying my life. I'm young, 21, female, but I am afraid of everything. Every time I find out an activity I like has some infinite chance to end in a freak accident, I give up on it. For example, I have always dreamt of taking horse riding lessons, but I was never able to because of lack of money. Now that I can, I took a few lessons and enjoyed it so much and planned on continuing. However, when I found out that you could be paralyzed or even killed riding a horse simply because of your horse tripping or not jumping properly over an obstacle, I became terrified and considered stopping. I turned down opportunities of travel in wonderful places with my family because of various risks. I'm not talking about unknown risky places. I'm talking about places like New York, LA, because I'm scared of the gun culture in America. I have never been there. I just hate that I'm preventing myself from accessing all sorts of wonderful opportunities. I know everything has a 0.1% of something terrible happening, but for some reason I still try to fight against those odds. I just want a bit of encouragement that it's going to be okay. I'm just really scared of dying getting out of my comfort zone when I could have been at home instead. These are just a few examples of people that feel they have gone through such a thing, and there are many more out there just like them. You may have even experienced pantophobia yourself. For example, horror movies portray the fear of everything most of the time. Often during them, you have no idea what you're supposed to be looking at, where something is going to jump out from, who is going to jump, so you skim around the screen at every object and person, as the unknown and the rising suspense of what could happen makes you ever so aware of the fearful possibilities that lie ahead. In many ways, the fear of the unknown and the fear of everything coincide greatly. They have glaring similarities. Haunted houses or attractions are the same way, only during them you are planted physically in locations where you always have to keep your eyes on the back of your head and continue to pay attention to everything. Just like the fear of the unknown, paranoia is another one that can make you horrified of all your surroundings at once, and that's just what you go through in those attractions, and even during the movies. Really, it's impossible to pin pantophobia down. It could just be labeled as anxiety or being paranoid as mentioned, among other things. That's the reason we don't use the word anymore and instead just diagnose it generally. But it's still so fascinating that anything like it exists at all. It really makes you think about the wonders of our minds, the power they hold over us every single day. Our brain can hold memories for a lifetime or forget them all. It can provide us with every one of our 5 senses or take them all away. It can break us or fix us, leave us with complete control or none. It is limitless, quite like pantophobia itself, the invisible, non-existent, ever so apparent mental illness most have experienced from time to time. Mental illness will always and forever be an unsolved part of our lives. There is no cure, no end, no answer. But there is always help, treatment. And if you feel like the weight is too much to bear, seek it, whatever it may be. Therapy, religion, talking to the ones you hold closest, family, friends. You need to know that you are loved and you will live to see another day. You will come out on top, and if no one else is around to tell you that, I will. As always, thank you for watching. Have a blessed rest of your day, and if you choose not to stick around, have a blessed rest of your life. I hope to see you again soon.